So my name's Tony Daniels, owner of Back to Basics Speed and Agility Training. I've been operating for about 4 years now. Started kind of just doing some training with my son. A couple of his friends wanted to kind of join in, so started getting into liability and stuff. So I decided to kind of get an LLC and kind of go that route. Well, then me being a full-time firefighter also, for me to not have to pick up another fire job, I'm like, well, I've got to kind of make this where I can actually make some money, right? So I started kind of really implementing it and kind of making it as a business. So it's been a fun ride. I'm starting to kind of venture out into other sports, which has been life-changing for me, just getting into different spaces. So yeah.
Nah, you said that too because different sports. We played football coming up. So did you feel a type of way, especially like, man, I'm about to try to work with this volleyball entity? Like you said, it's one thing working with your kids, but then when you really start working with other kids, what was that mindset for you?
For me, it really it coincided pretty much because being an athlete, we played outside, so it wasn't as much. Now, like, so many kids have to be coached how to move. Because they don't play outside and actually learn these different ways of movement. So with me kind of having that background, for me it was just really implementing, watching videos to see movement, and me being I feel like really good at teaching movement. It really just kind of coincided to teaching movements, learning and doing like that.
Nah, that's perfect because you talked about movement, and it really gets to why it's called Back to the Basics Speed and Agility, because like you said, as an athlete, whether you play football or not, a lot of the movements are the same, and that was one thing I was telling, my basketball, when I was coaching basketball girls, it's like a prime position where you're almost butt to heel or just kind of sitting in that and sitting in a chair almost, like we had you doing wall sits when we were kids. That's why it's important to really build up that core, and it's interesting to kind of see you once again making that transition and kind of moving forward into it. And it's another thing too, as a black man, and being able to have the confidence and the audacity to say, man, I'm just going to really just start a business and create an LLC. What were some of the hurdles, some of the things that you would be able to, right now, you would want to tell yourself when you started it, and the advice you would give yourself right now starting a business?
I think the biggest hurdle is I'm big about networking, and it was very difficult to find many trainers that, one, looked like me, two, actually wanted to kind of allow me into their space to allow me to grow like I felt like I needed to grow. So it kind of looking back, the biggest thing for me was to really learn how to network, get around the right people, so I can learn as much as I need to know, because terminology is everything. A lot of times, when you're speaking on the phone with parents, they're kind of testing you in that process, and just being able to kind of talk that talk, also kind of get in there and actually do the actual training and feel like they know that I know what I'm talking about. So that was probably one of the biggest hurdles, is there was not too many people for me to be able to refer to know how to actually start that LLC. So a lot of it I kind of had to do on my own and learn and grow. So I've been kind of writing my process down because I kind of refuse to allow that to happen again. So as I'm going through kind of all these steps, I'm writing these steps down to make sure that when someone comes to me looking for advice, I can kind of point them in that right direction and saying, hey, this is the actual steps. I'm a big kind of a checklist kind of guy. So I've got, checklists of, okay, hey, you want to start an LLC? These are the steps you need to go. This is the website you need to go to. This is the person you need to call. This is the insurance. Just because I know how big of a hurdle that part can be. And if it was that easy, there's a million websites on how to start an LLC, right? If it was that easy, everyone would be able to do it, right?
But like you said before, the mindset to kind of push through, man, and it's kind of crazy, man. Because like you said, a lot of folks don't know, bro, we used to live together for a little minute. So bro always had a different work ethic, a different mindset, and that's what everybody said if it was easy. But I think sometimes it just takes to be exposed to some certain things. So that's what we really want to do here at the center, is really expose our community. I always got to get out of the habit of saying exposing our young people, because I know we want to start young and teach our young people. We got to teach our whole community sometimes, and just kind of being exposed to that stuff. Because sometimes it's contagious. Because humbly, I can kind of say when I was like, Tone was on this type of method. Really, I just wanted to be able to not get that check-in.
Right,
Like,
right.
I'm like, okay, so if I do this, then I ain't got to check in with you.
Yeah.
Really, an opportunity to see, okay, we got, ain't no excuse, you know, a lot of the same genes, you know, both in the same. So what now can I do better to improve myself? That's what I mean. That's the exposure piece upon it. So I love that opportunity, as you're saying right now, because what you're doing is you're writing a curriculum. You're writing a whole step-by-step guide that you can really pass along, and that's really what we've been finding ourselves doing here over these past 4 or 5 years. Because that's really what it wasn't. You know, we really had no ambitions of none of this.
Right.
You know what I mean? But when you're in the nonprofit space, it forces you to write it down. And you know me, I just always kind of wanted to take a picture to kind of follow that journey. But I would love to be able to harness that with you, bro. If that's something you want to do, and offer that, not just how to start an LLC, but really being able to take any idea that you have and turn it into reality. Because that's really what we want to do here. And you know, humble brag, because this place is named after our great grandparents. Right. You know what I mean? The Howard and Curlia Daniels Learning Innovation Center. So I was talking too long on this subject, but it would be really cool if that.
But it really, I think it kind of goes into every step of the way, as I've been able to hone that same process on now being a real estate investor. The same process of me writing things down, understanding how important, you know, getting out there and really exposing myself to the different elements of whatever I wanted to do, whether it was the real estate investing as I'm getting into now that I'm doing other camps. It's like I'm taking that same philosophy and I'm just implementing in different organizations, different ways of life. And that's kind of how I've always kind of looked at things.
Let's talk about the real estate side of it, bro, because that's another different venture. You know, people that look like us are really talking about that now. I think there's an awakening. Land ownership is the most valuable thing that you can have right now. What's kind of been your journey and your process to kind of get where you are in land ownership?
So 100%. That was like, for me, as I first realized owning a house, how important it was, just from a financial standpoint, from a generational standpoint. And what really did it for us when I was kind of getting into real estate investing, thought you had to have like this huge influx of money, right? Like, man, how are these people buying all these houses? And I'm like, okay, ding, ding, ding. Look at my house. I've got this equity in there. What do? I'm able to do a cash out refi. You can only do a cash out refi if you own a house, right?
Just in 30 seconds, you kind of just, to layman's term, what's a cash out?
So cash out refi is if you buy a house, either you fix it up or you got maybe some positive equity into it. You can take equity out of your house. So say you bought a house for $100,000. Well, over time that house grows in equity. Well, now it might be worth $150,000. Well, at that point you can take out 70% of that $75,000. So now you're able to go to the bank and say, hey banker, give me 70% of that $150,000. But the kicker is you don't pay taxes on it. It's tax free. Right? Tax free. But you can only get that if you own a house. So you were talking about the statistics on how many people in Lincoln Heights own houses. 33%. So you're telling me now that only 33% of the people can take advantage of that aspect of home ownership, right?
That's a lot. You know, it ain't really that under 50 age group. It's really the 50 and up. So if you really took under 50 that own the home, those statistics get even smaller, bro. So yes, yeah,
but that's just it, because how many, when you talk about exposure, how many people actually know that, right? So now there might be people who are sitting on this equity that don't even know this exists, right? So now it's really learning, okay, I'm being exposed to it. I just had to kind of expose myself to it. Now I'm kind of at the rooftop and I'm screaming as loud as I can to people to understand like how important home ownership is.
And it's almost, and once again, not almost, it is critical to both of those age groups. We talk about the 50 and up and the 50 and under. Even though the 50 and up has more people in it, you're talking about individuals that's on a fixed income now. So whose retirement may not be what it really is. You're kind of struggling. So now you have an opportunity to put more money into your home that can now be passed down, a start of generational wealth.
Correct.
You know, words that you started off by saying that you feel like you have to have this influx of money to create. You know, that's why a lot of people always say, man, the dentist, who live in my neighborhood is the ones that's living next to millionaire rappers, because we don't have that equity. They're able to pass that thing on to, now, yeah, you may have just a, what we call a normal everyday job, but have the ability to live in Indian Hill or these other nice places because you've been able to build that equity through what America's calls its most valuable asset, land ownership and your home. Can we kind of also talk about a little bit more into just the ability, because you really talk about it on one end of it, how you can create more equity out of it, and then what does it now look like to have one and be able to now turn that into two, into three? What's that kind of process?
Yeah, so I mean it's an amazing process. As I actually just got my second property yesterday, so that one property will, being, obviously there's risk and reward and everything, right? But my thing, when you talk to people and they're like, are you're getting into being a landlord? I would never do that. I'm like, well, that's just a different, right? Because you go to work, you get money. It's like, so now I'm learning this process, and my goal is so just to kind of go backwards. So my original goal right now, so I'm in the process of starting independent living. So that's a whole different aspect, because now I'm in the process of implementing in my independent living, home ownership, financial peace university, right? So now you're getting into learning about finances, right? Home ownership, how important home ownership. Not only that, I'm pushing trade schools hard, because I feel like that's one of them things that we're like, go to college. I think it's awesome, right? But there's a whole nother world out there of electricians, plumbers, who are able to make a really good income, but also budding that up with someone who now understands how money works, how savings work, how interest rates works. It's a different ball game now.
See, that's the ways that these things are all kind of aligning, because once again, you're talking about creating that holistic space, that holistic person, because what we want to now implement here, right? And like I said, I feel like it's almost blasphemy in that sense, and I say don't preach go to college. You know what I mean? Not saying don't go to college, but what I'm saying is that what I would love to be able to introduce is the exposure piece. Once again, how can I expose you to as many opportunities to open your eyes to it? Because I can't say, because I didn't go through trade school, but if I was to go through trade school, now do you have the ability to also integrate with all the networking pieces that you really get when you go to college, right? So how do we now, in places like this, create almost that college atmosphere where you get the best of both worlds? Because when here, you're going to get GE executives walking through here. You're going to get the CEO of United Way walking through here, right? You're going to get those different type of abilities to rub elbows with those individuals here, but still have the ability to also get your hands-on experience with different trades, right? So, we're going to be able to really get this kicked off when we get out there, because I really want to talk about this, because really make this move, and that's why I'm glad Miss Sarita heard it, because she's going to hold you accountable.
But I think that's where you now, because I was really never like this. I'm a kind of an introvert at heart. Like, if it's not a topic I just totally enjoy and love, like I really just going and meeting someone is hard for me. But you get me talking about speed and agility. You get me talking about investing. You get me talking about giving back. Like, that's where I can talk all day, right? So now you're exposing these kids to all this different finances and being able to get out there and network, because that's going to be my other piece is like how important networking is, right? Like, how many people talk about how important networking is? You talk about going to college, and that's really one of the biggest pieces, right? Being able to network. But if we can now teach you, okay, if you're telling me, hey, school's really not for me, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. Well, let's go do this trade school. We're going to still implement a lot of the networking piece, the finances pieces. So now when you come out, instead of working for somebody, now you can actually start your business, right?
And you got a path. You got someone you can talk to that's right there on whatever your angle is, right?
Correct.
And it's crazy because, as you said before, your mindset to be able to think of processes and be able to kind of put things together, things of that nature, that's not always been my strength. But you, like you said, be able to kind of just talk to folks and kind of network and kind of go out and that end. Kind of was always my side of it, right? So it's kind of like the same way when we was kind of on the field too. Like, you were able to kind of do your side up front, but then on the back end, but if you're not able to understand what your team is doing, and what roles you're playing, you're not able to extract as much as we can out of this thing right now. And it's so dope because everybody kind of has the same vision. And when you talk in the community, those folks have that same idea too. But it's like, who can I talk to? Who can help me? Who is right there? But I can't do it all by myself.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like
Correct.
Mr. Aretha can't do it all by herself. I know you can't do it all by yourself. And folks who think about it, they can't do it all by themselves. But if we have spaces like this where we can create it and provide opportunities for the residents, provide opportunities for people that look like us, that's going to be that next step. Like you said before, because one thing that we are passionate about, that I think is just in our blood, is helping people. So, yeah, man, Tone. Anything else on the housing side, man? This has been dope because we'll rap all day. And I know, like I said, man, he's a firefighter. He got folks to save. He got people to train. Just anything else for the people.
I think like to really kind of just put in emphasis how important, as we talk about home ownership. I mean, I hate to keep bringing that back up, but like that is the start of like just generational wealth. There's not too many things that you can pass down as from a tax-free standpoint than real estate. Like, I mean, it's just not what it is, right? So even selling, so say you got an emphasis where it's like, if I have a house and I'm wanting to sell it, there's ways to get around not paying taxes on that sale, which is now called a 1031 exchange, right? So all these different things I'm learning, I'm just like mind blown, like this is out there. Like, and we talk about loopholes. It's not a loop. It's right in the tax code. It's in the tax code.
It's the law.
It's in the tax code.
It's the law. But you don't know these things till you get exposed to them. Which is and so where on your journey have you found the most knowledge? I mean, like I said, online is one thing, but who was able to really open up that door for people that keep like, oh man.
So I am big about mentorships. Yeah. So like that's my, if I can kind of say anything, it's super important. It's getting around people who are like-minded, where I'm able to be myself. These guys are super knowledgeable, and I'm not gonna lie, I had to pay for that because I was willing to bypass all the silly mistakes that I would make trying to be a single person Superman, right? Like, yeah, that's cool for you to be like, I got it out the mud, I did it by myself. Ain't too many people done it by themselves. Now, they ain't gonna be honest and tell you that they had help along the way, but I'm willing to tell you, like, I researched and I seeked out people who had already been through that process, who was able to say, yeah, don't go down that alley. Go down here. Okay, thank you for that, right? So now I'm big about mentorship just because I understand how important it is to be able to bypass some of the costly mistakes that really set a lot of people back and prevent them from kind of growing.
And being humble enough to listen to it and accept it too.
Correct.
That's a big part too, man. That's a big part too.
Yeah, so I was kind of, before I got into the mentorship, I was kind of going down this rabbit hole of researching and internet and this program and that program, and they were able to just really sit me down and say, okay, so every program has X, Y, and Z, right, in their curriculum. Like, so it's not the program. What is it? It's the implementation of the actual program and being able to have a set goal and say, okay, let's work backwards. Everything now that I'm doing, right, I'd like, okay, this is where I want to be. How do we work backwards? And for me, I didn't know that until the guys taught me that, like, okay, we work backwards and able to then get to that common goal of what I'm wanting.
But that's in everything though, man, almost, right? Results-based accountability. What are you finding and how do you work back towards, who's better off, how much are you doing, and then how can you get better at it? Like, and just kind of using that mindset to kind of move forward with it, bro. And be able to take that and harnessing that into, once again, real estate. Because once again, there's 66% of the people in Lincoln Heights who are renting right now, who that at the drop of a dime or any situation, their housing thing could be in a flux. Renting is, there's a pro and con to everything, but I know the people that live in this community, they like to be in control. They don't like to be told what to do. You know better. They don't like to be told what to do. And the best thing that you can do to kind of hold that in is own your own space, own your own home. And then once you own your own home, or even have the steps to own it towards that, you can, like you said before, flip that to create more equity, more wealth. You don't have to be a millionaire to get these things done. You just got to be able to put the work in.
No, majority of the guys that are in the mentorship are just regular working folks that have been able to hone, right, really lean on that community of people who want the same thing they want and are now in a totally different space from where they started, because they were basically able to put their guard down and say, I need help, right? How many people are willing to say, like, I need help, like, right? Like, but not only that, I need help, but I am willing to say I don't know how to do something, right? Like the whole like, oh yeah, I know. It's like, if you don't say you do, because you know it's just being silly. But we're now breaking down that mindset to say, okay, this is our mindset. I am starting from ground zero, where I'm crawling in this position because I want to be successful. And everybody's success is going to look different, but I think once you start to get into the ramifications of generational wealth, like, I mean, we got to take a step back and say, how do we get there?
Oh man, and it starts with it's so many simple things, but it really does just start with the ability to say, I don't know, and I need help, and I can go so much further with that. That's really how your journey got started, how my journey got started. I was just like, hey, can you help me get to this? And then somebody like, yeah, and take the steps and be humble enough to move on that, man. This has been dope, Tone. This has been real dope. Like I said, I always love trying to rap with folks that's from the community, folks that, you know, Lincoln Heights Tiger. Man, I should have brought up the picture with running around, man. Like I said, Mom still is an active part of the community. She definitely helped out with our Hamilton County Youth Employment. So shout out to Carter, man, and what they did. We had 15 youth. So the rooms that you're sitting in right now, everything else, it all came from the connection that Carla had to bring these young kids in. They painted it, they designed it. So I know I'm pointing around. Everybody's like, what studio? You guys can't see because we're behind the green screen, but just more reason to bring more folks in to make this thing happen. I'm looking forward to working with you to build some programs that we can offer our community. You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily have to just be you and I, but it's the mindset of what we can build, the structure, what we can build. And tell us, bro, we build it, the people gonna come, man. Man, this has been a pleasure with Tony Daniels, the owner of Back to the Basics, Speed and Agility.
Thank you.
Owner of 2 homes. And he also has it out too, man. And like I said, man, it's proud great grandson of Howard and Curlia, the center that we sit in right now. And once again, I'm Daronce Daniels, the councilman. And as we always say, there are no limits because we are the heights.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, man. That's good.